Well, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Project Time Garage. This one's going to be a little bit different because I just want to tell you a story. But before I tell you a story, check out that stoplight back there. Isn't that just the coolest thing ever? If you want to see that stoplight get put up and get wired up and get working like it is, go check out my other channel, my new channel, Project Time Tech. I'm going to link that right up here. Brand new channel, just launched it. And it covers all the techie things that really don't belong here in this garage, but sort of relate to the garage. So go check out Project Time Tech. Anyway, on with this show. I wanted to take a few minutes today and share with you guys my personal experience with Wildfire Lifts, and in particular, my lost lift. I wanted to do this in order for others to see what an awesome company these guys really are, and how they absolutely went above and beyond for me, just some dude. I'm gonna preface this video by saying this. I have no sponsorship whatsoever from these guys. They don't know who I am. I didn't get anything at all for making this video. I didn't get anything at all from the company, period. In fact, I paid retail for the lift and I paid retail for the accessories. The fact that I have a YouTube channel wasn't even mentioned. To them, I was just a dude. And like the title says, I'm going to tell you the story of the lift being lost and how these guys absolutely went so far above and beyond for me that it was worth me making this video just to tell people. For all of my life, I have worked on my hobby vehicles in the floor or outside in the gravel, using jacks and jack stands and just laying on the floor on a piece of cardboard or a creeper. And I've really never given any thought to doing it any other way. It was just, this is how I did it. But as I get older, I start to realize that getting up and down, that's kind of for the birds. As much of this stuff as I do in this garage, it's probably time to look at getting a lift. So I made the decision, we're gonna put a lift in here of some kind, come hell or high water, and all we had to do was decide which lift and what kind of lift. So I did a huge amount of research prior to buying anything. Really, I think the most research was done in what kind of lift I really wanted, whether it was a 2-post or a 4-post drive-on style lift like this. And one of the biggest factors for me anyway was space, and the fact that I really don't have much space in this garage to work with. So I really needed something that could get out of my way if I needed to. See, if I put a 2-post lift right here, I mean, it's there, it's bolted to the floor, boys and girls, it isn't gonna go anywhere. So in doing the research, it led me to looking at the Wildfire and the fact that they have the little trolley feet that clip onto the bottom of the legs. And when you set the lift down, it comes up on wheels and you can physically move it around your garage. Now, for one guy, it's a handful to move around, but you absolutely can do it. So that made me look a little closer at Wildfire. And it didn't take much looking to realize that, gosh, there's a ton of YouTubers already that have these things, and they seem to like them. And I'm sure they got paid in some way to get them, but you know, let's face it, everybody seems to really like them. So I kind of made the decision that Wildfire was going to be the direction I was going to head. It also helps a lot that Wildfire is an American company. They're based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or somewhere there in Minnesota. So that helps a lot. Regarding which particular lift, I pretty much settled on the 9000. Even though I've got a few vehicles that are technically too big for this, you know, it wouldn't be usable for me. The majority of what I have works just fine. So the 9000, I chose that one in order to kind of mitigate my space loss. The XL would easily handle any of my big trucks or my diesel trucks, but I think it would just take up too much space in the garage. So I didn't. Now that's not to say that I won't do that in the future. I think I'm planning on doing some some major renovation to that end of the garage, and I've already got an addition added on that side and an addition on the back. So I may at some point put an XL over in that side, and I may actually also put a 2-post hoist. So I don't know. Time will tell. So July the 11th, 2022, I got to work that morning, picked up the phone, put a call into Wildfire. The fellow that I talked to on the phone right off the crack of the bat was, I mean, extremely helpful. And I asked a lot of questions. Like, I tied this dude up on the phone for a long time because it's a lot of money to spend. You know, you want to make sure that you're doing it right before you lay that kind of cash out. You got to, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's, so to speak. The guy answered every question I had. He was super patient. He didn't try to upsell me either, that's pretty refreshing. I'll give you an example. The trolley jack and the accessories that you can buy to go with these lifts. I knew that I wanted a trolley jack for sure, because when it comes to changing tires and stuff, you want some way to get the vehicle lifted up off the platform. And those jacks are air over hydraulic, and they just kind of scoot around in the middle, you know, of the lift. I was wrestling with whether or not to get 1 or 2 trolley jacks. So I just asked the guy, I was like, you know, is there any reason for me to get 2 of these jacks? I mean, they're $1,400 a pop, so they're not cheap. And he actually talked me out of getting 2 jacks. He's like, no, I think you should just stick with 1, and you know, you can always add 1 later if you choose to. That was pretty nice. I mean, you know, there are a lot of companies who would have said, yeah, hell yeah, buy 3, buy 4, hell, buy 5. This guy was like, nah, just stick with the 1, start there. So that was pretty nice. So I placed the order. As soon as I was ready to place the order, he was pretty quick to tell me, hey, look, we're going to have some lead time getting this thing because, you know, everybody in the world is having supply chain problems. So, you know, be ready for it to be, you know, a significant amount of time before you receive your lift, which I was fine with because, you know, I work in the IT industry. So we have the same issues all over the place too. So no big deal. Nothing they can do about it anyway, right? So the order was placed and it was time to wait. Almost a month goes by. I ordered the thing on July the 11th, August the 5th. This will be a Friday afternoon. I'm camping with my family and I'm sitting outside after dinner. It's probably 6:30, 7 o'clock. Popped up in my email just to see what's going on. Lo and behold, I had an email. It was from a guy named Robbie at Wildfire Lifts. Robbie says, hey man, your lift is in and it's sitting at the Nashville ABF Freight Terminal ready for you to go get it. Well, that's pretty cool. Of course, that email had came at noon that day, and this was 7 o'clock p.m. on a Friday afternoon, so there wasn't a whole lot I could do. So I made plans to jump on that first thing Monday morning to try and go ahead and get the lift picked up on Monday. Monday morning, probably about 8:01. I mean, I was kind of giddy to get this thing. It was like a kid with a new toy, right? So about 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:01 or so, I'm on the phone with ABF Freight saying, can I come get my lift? They needed a tracking number. They couldn't find anything with my name on it, and I didn't have a tracking number. So, okay, so there's that. So I hung up with them, sent an email back to Robbie saying, they don't know who I am by name. Can I get a tracking number? Took dude all of 10 minutes to respond. That's pretty good. He gave me the tracking number. I called ABF Freight back. She said, yep, it's here. It's on the floor. You can come get it, you know, anytime after 10 a.m. today. I was literally sitting in my driveway with the truck idling and the trailer behind it anyway. So I was ready to go. So I rolled up the ABF Freight Terminal about 10:05 that morning. Went in, gave them the tracking information. Guy gave me some paperwork, said, go wait out by your truck. A guy will bring it to you on a forklift. So I had all my straps out. I'm ready to go. A lot of time went by. And this guy comes walking out, not with a forklift and not with my lift. And he says, can you come inside and look at this before I bring it out here? Because the number is 1 digit off from your lift. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come look at it. But that doesn't sound good just right off the bat. That doesn't sound good. So I went inside and met with this dock worker and some lady named Amy. And sitting on a forklift was a I think it was a 4-post lift, but it was a very small 4-post lift. In fact, right down the side of the leg, you could see the name Tuxedo. Now, I looked at Tuxedo lifts when I was looking for these. They were pretty inexpensive, but I didn't get the same vibe from them. I'll leave it at that. So I chose the Wildfire lift for substantially more money. Anyway, this wasn't my lift. And when I quizzed these guys about, well, if this isn't mine, where is mine? Evidently, they had put it on a truck bound for someone else. Yeah. So my lift isn't there and they don't know where it is. But it's comical that the guy says, do you want this one? No, I don't want this one. What kind of mess would that be if I take the wrong lift and I take it home and then later on, you know, no way. Just flat no. So the dock worker and Amy being, I believe, the supervisor, Amy said that it looked like my lift had been given to a Lowe's home improvement store or was sent to Lowe's home improvement. I do recall seeing that Lowe's actually sells Tuxedo brand lifts. So everything kind of lined up there. I asked these guys, how does this happen? I mean, this is a pretty substantial piece of hardware. I mean, good grief. How do you give something like this to the wrong person when there are tracking numbers and barcodes? The only thing they could offer was that maybe, since the things were sitting literally next to each other in the loading bays, they were literally next door neighbors, that maybe they scanned one and then when the forklift driver rolled over to pick it up, he picked up the other one. That's about all they could offer for me. Either way, it was bound for Lowe's. What she didn't tell me was that that order had left on Friday, right? And here we are on Monday. So I had no idea that it was way gone. So I asked which Lowe's, and she says in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Well, that's convenient because that's where I live, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So she said, well, you may be able just to drive to Lowe's and pick this thing up if they still have it in their warehouse. I was skeptical about that, about picking anything up like that. So I told her just to find the thing, figure out where it was, and then let me know, and we would go from there, right? So I left there empty-handed and decided, you know, since it's the town I live in anyway, I'm going to swing by Lowe's just in an attempt to see if I can get enough information to even confirm that it's even there or not, because I had some suspicions here. I knew Lowe's wasn't going to just hand it over to me, and I literally had no intentions of taking it, because for me, once it leaves ABF Freight's hands and goes into someone else's hands, it's a different world. So I don't want to get stuck with something that's either missing parts or whatever. So I had no intention of picking it up. I was just trying to find the stupid thing, right? So I left out of there about 10:30 or so, 10:27 or so that morning, heading back to Murfreesboro. I went ahead and put a call in for Robbie at Wildfire just to let him know what's going on. And I got some guy named Brad on the phone. I explained to Brad what was going on, and he was horrified. He said Robbie was out of the office, but he was going to get on it and try to figure out what in the world was going on pretty quick. I felt pretty reassured, to tell the truth, after talking to him, because he did genuinely seem like he was mortified at what was going on. So about 11:10 or so, I arrived at the Lowe's store and went in and talked to, actually I ended up having to talk to a couple of different people. It's hard to explain to someone who is not involved in the situation exactly what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get information on a part that was erroneously shipped to you that I didn't order from you, and Lowe's has absolutely no compelling reason to talk to me, right? I'm just some guy that showed up with, you know, claiming some things with very little proof, except for my bill of lading from ABF. I did talk to this guy finally, and he was like, you know, I know what you're talking about, those lifts and things like that, but if we sell one of those, it doesn't ever make its way to the store. If a customer orders it, it gets shipped to a freight terminal and the freight terminal delivers it directly to their door. Oh God. That means some other dude in Murfreesboro, Tennessee has my lift. He has my Wildfire lift that is a bunch of money, and he doesn't have his Tuxedo lift, which is substantially less money. Good day to be dude, bad day to be me. So there's nothing else really to do there, so I just bebop back out to the truck, hop on the phone, call Amy at the ABF freight terminal to let her know the information I just found out, which she also had found out, that it was obviously delivered at somebody else's door side by ABF Freight. She said that they would try to go ahead and recall the lift and get it back and re-deliver it to me. And at that point, I'm like, full stop, no. I'm gonna refuse delivery on this thing if you send it to me, because now this lift has been in somebody else's garage, and who knows how uncrated they've gotten it. Who's gonna guarantee me that all the pieces are there? Who's gonna guarantee me that that $1,400 trolley jack is there? Nobody. So at that point, I told Amy, it's time to call it, consider this lost, and do whatever you guys do for a lost shipment. So I went ahead and put a call back into Brad at Wildfire to let him know what I found at Lowe's and what Amy confirmed with Lowe's, that the lift was indeed gone. He said that yes, he had already been in contact with ABF, and it did look like it was delivered somewhere else, and they were going to work it out with ABF. Meanwhile, they were going to go ahead and ship me a new lift as quickly as possible, and he said that they would even take care of delivering it to my door, like flatbed forklift delivery, which that cost them extra that I didn't pay for, right? So I told them immediately, I'm like, look, you don't have to do that. I'm perfectly happy to send this thing to the ABF freight terminal. I'll go pick it up in the truck again. It's not a big deal. It's a little inconvenient, but who cares? I mean, it's no point in Wildfire having to pay for ABF's mistake, right? But he insisted. He was like, no, we'll go ahead and we'll reship it right now. The closest one to you is, I think he said North Carolina, that they would try to get it all together and crated up and sent my way, and they would send me some information as soon as they got it. But it wasn't going to take as long this time. Obviously, they were streamlining thing. That was extremely reassuring. That was probably the nicest thing that I could hear at that point, right? So the next day, this would be August the 10th, I went ahead and emailed Robbie, just double checking, circling back around, trying to close the loop on the status of things, because Robbie had been out that day and I'd been dealing with Brad. So I went ahead and emailed him, just checking on the status. He responded pretty much immediately and let me know that, yeah, they definitely did find the lift. They have recalled it. It's going back to their warehouse to be, done whatever. And they were going to try to get a lift out to me, the one they talked about, either that week or the following week. 2 days later, on August the 12th, get an email from Robbie letting me know that they have the new lift ready to roll. They're shipping it out that day. They'll have a tracking number forthcoming as soon as the thing starts to move. About 4 days later, on August the 16th, received an email from Robbie with tracking information. Woohoo. So I did what any good boy does. I sat down at my computer and immediately blasted that thing into the old tracker. Tracking number was invalid. Really? Okay. So I waited till the next day, the 17th of August, went ahead and tried it again. Much to my chagrin, no good. Tracking number invalid. So at that point, I went ahead and emailed Robbie again saying, hey, listen, this tracking number, it shows invalid, that it's not even a good tracking number at ABF. He said that the order just started moving, so go ahead and give them one more full day to see if, you know, if it would populate in the system, and if it hadn't populated by the next day, reach back out to him and we would go from there, which that's fair. So on the 18th, I received an email from Robbie saying that the shipment was actually in progress now, the tracking numbers should be working now, and that my scheduled delivery date was 8/23, so August the 23rd. That's good news. So I dropped my tracking information, or my tracking number, back into the old ABF tracker. Invalid. Yep, still invalid. So about 10 minutes later, I went ahead and emailed Robbie back and said, hey, listen, this tracking number still shows invalid on my end. To which he replied with the correct tracking number, which did work. On 8/25, so August the 25th, I get a call about 9 o'clock that morning from a driver saying, coming your way, are you gonna be home? Of course, I squealed like a small child and said, yes, I'm gonna be home, bring it. They delivered at 11:36. So we didn't start breaking bands off the package until about probably 12:15, something like that. And by 6 o'clock that night, two of us, just my dad and I, thank you for the help, by the way, couldn't have done it without you. My dad and I had this thing together and at least fully assembled. Of all the things I didn't have, hydraulic oil. Of all the tractors and all the things that I have, the fact that I didn't have a single 5-gallon bucket of hydraulic oil still perplexes me to this day. That's the only thing that kept me from being able to send this lift up and down on the same day I got it. We basically just used a cherry picker and a little bit of elbow grease, and it went together remarkably easy, in fact. Next morning, I got up, ran and grabbed some hydraulic oil, came back, filled it up, bled the system, spent, I don't know, probably an hour and a half or so adjusting the cables and getting everything leveled out and going through every nut and bolt, making sure that everything was secure and tight and adjusted and all that. Took me, I guess I had probably an hour and a half, 2 hours in it that day, just getting it up and going. So had I received the lift at 8 o'clock in the morning and had all the stuff that I needed, I'm confident I could have had it up and going pretty easily in one day. So if you're looking to get one of those, it's very doable, 2 guys, 1 day. So far, I love the lift. I've used it a lot. I have done an oil change on about half of everything I own. I have serviced differentials. I have adjusted brakes. I have fixed exhaust leaks. I have done all kinds of things with the lift that before I would have probably just put off because I didn't really want to get something up in the air and crawl under it with a welder or crawl under it to service a diff. I would just put it off. Now it's easy. So it changed. That was a game changer, I guess, for me. So to the guys at Wildfire Lifts, my hat is off to you. Thank you for excellent customer service. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. And guys, I'll see you next time.